Thank you so much, Rain Day. Game number 2 is here on Storm Point. Keep in mind, just a reminder for those at home, 3 games on Storm Point followed by 3 games on World's Edge, and they're playing on the previous patch. So no Catalyst, obviously no Broken Moon. The R99 has not received that buff yet. The Volt hasn't gotten nerfed, so you're not going to see a whole lot of R99 in use today. You'll see a lot of Volt action. G7 Scout with double tap trigger is not a gold item, so you'll see a lot of that going on. So keep in mind, previous patch, but game number 2 is here. Rain Day asked for it. We got to follow through. Vicky, any spicy picks going into game 2? You know, I always got to put you on the spot.
I'm expecting our qualifying teams to actually make huge waves after the performance that we just saw right now with 3 Muppets. Of course, I'm excited to see what more they have to bring for us because it was a North Pad circle. We had one of those northern circles where a lot of these teams don't have so much of a trouble when it comes to these rotations unless you're one of the squads that are rotating from like Shipfall, Gale Station, Antenna, then you have a bit of a way to go. So I'm expecting, you know, our qualifying teams like the 3 Muppets to continuously pop off.
Yeah, that's a good point. That lightning round rotate was really, really tough and proved to be tough for Alliance, for example. So I like that call. And to be honest, I'm not one to typically copy people, but I've been hyping up 3 Muppets. I got to stay on the 3 Muppets train. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep an eye out for 3 Muppets here as we take a look at the overhead map. Hopefully, we'll have a chance to see where all these teams are dropping so everyone knows where the drop spots are for these squads. We'll keep a close eye on this. And then also, look at the left and right of your screen and look at the color associated with your favorite teams. You can keep a close eye on them by using multi-view and watching their specific gameplay. You can hear their comms. Make sure to check out multi-view as well if you want to follow your specific teams. In addition to the broadcast, you can have multiple windows up with multiple teams. E6 drops North Pad. It was a North Pad finish, so it was a really solid and easy, relatively speaking, game for them, just posting up in their drop spot. We'll see where the Storm's going to pull in game 2. Cenote Cave will be the game of drones, and Alliance returning back to Lightning Rod, KCP at the wall, which they like to drop in as well as we jump on with E6.
Yeah, that was super important to note too, because with E6 landing in North Pad, that really does highlight why they are able to get away with not just playing the lifeline, but with the positioning that they were holding since the very beginning of the game. They're able to have some makeshift cover with those lifeline care packages, as we're just going to get settled in real quick. You see Lifeline on the Trident before rejoining the rest of the squad here, and IG International looking like they're already cleaning up some spiders. I mean, I got arachnophobia. I know Halloween just passed here, John, but IG International being one of those squads that deny themselves some loot for some of those quick rotations as well. So JMW is going to be on the high ground real quick with the rest of the squad, with Graceful taking a split when it comes to the drop, and he's already got gold Evo.
Yeah, that's right. This is like, we kind of call it, this is going to be a drop spot right near Cascade Falls, where Team Liquid likes to drop in North America, and they are going to actually find themselves a wide drop. Because no teams are dropping here, it's going to be Graceful looting all of the waterfall while the rest of the IG boys take Cascade Falls. So that's going to be a lot of loot for them, plus they can craft and level up their Evo shields, so all of them will be leaving with that gold and blue shields. A really solid loot start for Invictus Gaming after a poor start in game number 1. We'll see if IG with Graceful can make some noise. And I want to, quickly talk about Invictus Gaming as well. That's probably the most notable roster change in my eyes in terms of plus benefit for a team. Obviously, they don't have a lot of time or practice together yet with Graceful, but once they do, they're going to be dangerous. And reason being, Vicky, Noises was the sole IGL with Bryn and Co on that team for the longest time. I think the fact that Graceful's on that team now, he can be more of the micro IGL, while Noises is the macro IGL. We saw that with Cloud9 when Graceful substituted for Zach Mazer at the Split 2 playoffs on LAN in Sweden. Graceful was able to be that micro IGL, while Albert Lely was able to be more of a macro IGL. It worked out really well for them. Expect the same thing for IG. I think they're going to have a really big benefit from that.
Yeah, just to follow up from that too, because I'm really glad you mentioned Graceful and his performance as just a solo good stand-in player, because he's been able to display similar results when he had to sub in for Alliance recently for one of the more recent Apex Legends tournaments, as well as even G Dolphins team in the Proving Grounds tourney back in August. So overall, Graceful as a solo player is just such a solid player to pick up. I'm excited to see what he does with the rest of the IG boys as we still take a look at Vex Gaming, as they are going to be able to exit out of their POI over in Launchpad. Looks like they don't have too much to traverse in terms when it comes to the open ground here, as Bavis is also going to get shot at. It's actually a squad that's contesting HP from the high ground. So Bavis actually backing up a bit as Bitfix Gaming are looking to actually put in some of the extra pressure. And I know I mentioned that they've used Rampart in the past during the quals, but Bitfix Gaming now using something that's a lot more consistent with the rest of the compositions and the teams that we've been able to witness between the Newcastle and the Watson.
That's right. Bitfix Gaming, another rookie squad alongside the three Muppets making their showing in ALGS. Lil Max playing from Iraq, one of two Iraqian players, alongside VJ playing on VZD over in Group C. We're not going to see them on display today, but really exciting to see a lot of Middle Eastern players in the Pro League here, because Emea, not just EU, we talk about EU most often because 97% of the players are from Europe, but EMEA stands for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Fun fact, for those that didn't know, when we say EMEA, what the heck do we mean? It's the Middle East and it's Africa. We've seen a couple South African teams have actually made it to some ALGS competitions. Not going to be in the Pro League, unfortunately, will be South Africa. But we will have Iraq, we will have Turkey from the Middle East on display. So shout out to our Middle Eastern teams competing and hanging with the best of them as we see High Peak, Fricks, Bavis, and Young Hong Kong, two Danish players here. Another rookie team in ALGS.
One of the squads that are also rocking the Watson. No Newcastle this time around, still using the Seer. They want to try to make sure that they could take prioritization over information from what the Seer passive could provide, as well as just knowing where a lot of these squads want to rotate from, as we could take a look at where the circle is going to be pulling a much more middle-ish circle, but I do expect the circle to continuously be pulling more towards the south, which a lot of these other teams are also predicting. As you can see, the real estate and barometer is looking very limited.
Yeah, I want to point one thing out. Look at KCP. Already has rotated all the way from the wall to center circle. That is one of the fastest rotates. Wow. That is the KCP of old that we're used to watching, dropping Fragment East and being the fastest to rotate, which is what the recipe for success was when they were a championship winning team back in 2020. Excited to see this KCP team return to what's worked well for them in the past. And look at this, every team already kind of clumping towards the south side of this center circle. Vicky, you called it. You said the zone's going to continue to pull south. I agree, and the teams do as well. I mean, you see 12 to 15 teams already in the south side of the circle.
Yeah, although you see a lot of these teams already taking up Barometer as just a situated spot that they want to hang out in, it's because they can rotate away from Barometer north towards that middle area. As we see a Skyward Dive from High Peak, they're going to be taking the Valkyrie all away from Barometer, it looks like. Maybe trying to traverse around the big rock so that way they can have a northern side approach from Barometer instead of being funneled outside of those two choke points that lead from the left side of Barometer as well as the right side towards Jurassic Park. So Pioneers with a squad that you keep highlighting because this is an insane team, of course, to look at. KCP is already making their way into this real estate that's on the outskirts of Barometer. They are a little late to the party where we just saw Skyward Dive right in front of them. So lucky for that squad, they don't have to run into KCP.
Yeah, how fortuitous that they rotated immediately as after the Skyward Dive came through. Really, really solid rotate for Pioneers and fairly well timed. Otherwise, they would have found themselves in a fight against HP here. But I like the rotate from HP. Very, very a heads up play from them. A lot of these teams are familiar with these zones. That's kind of what's going to be different about the Pro League this season versus last season. Storm Point was brand new, and people didn't know the zones yet. They didn't have them memorized to the back, on the back of their palm like they do on World's Edge. So you saw, things like Optic in North America always getting Godspot because other teams didn't know where Godspot was going to be necessarily. Well, that's changed now. Teams are really familiar with Storm Point with these end zones and where they're going to go. They have the experience in scrim lobbies and tournaments. So that's why you see at High Peak with the early rotate, you see KCP rotating early because every team is predicting this to be a southern pull here.
I'm really glad that you highlight that because it's not like we had that opportunity with Stormpoint at the very beginning of the year 2 of Pro League. So that's something to take note of as we start off year 3 with High Peak taking the real estate underneath this bridge on the outskirts of Barometer. This is actually one of the final circles that we've seen before when it comes to the circles pulling on the outskirts of Barometer because I'm not expecting it to continuously pull directly over Barometer. I am expecting it to go north. And High Peak having this train, they're using it as makeshift cover, but in case they need to boot themselves out of here because they're in some trouble, this is also a nice way for them to try to back up in case that they need to, and if they are sandwiched, because again, we do know that KCP is to their south, and there is that squad that's already taking control over that dome-shaped building.
My man's parking that thing like it's a Rari, in Milan or something. Some great parking and use of makeshift cover there for the Trident. Well parked, well positioned. That thing's not going to get scratched up. It's not going to get touched, as we'll see. I say that, but obviously they're going to get blown up here in a moment. We're going to watch Phoenix Legacy, the Cenote Cave rotate for them. We know that Game of Drones drops here, so I'm trying to look at the map here. I don't know if I see Game of Drones on screen with kind of the small text, but they must have rotated nearby as well. 20 squads still remaining, so every team is still in this lobby, and it is going to be a southwest pole, but fairly central southwest, as you see on screen. As every single team except for Alliance is inside that circle.
I don't know if that was a Kraber stray shot hitting the rocks right north of Sabs there, but I jumped a little bit because hearing that noise brings back PTSD sometimes. But with some of these teams taking their time, rotating into this next circle, such as Alliance, it really does highlight how teams like Alliance are truly taking their time into rotating to these next circles as Sab falls incredibly low, needing now to reset. Sabs is going to need Hoodie and Imp to actually give some suppressed fire.
Yeah, Sabs and Co. under some duress right now, but a team you absolutely have to highlight. Sabs of Phoenix Legacy, the only woman competing in the Pro League in this lobby today. So excited to see what Sabs and PL can do, and big shout to Sabs, one of the best competitors in our female community of Apex Legends in the world. Obviously, we have players like Girl, you have Destu, you have Evzy down in South America, and so many more competing. But the reality is, we need more representation. You know, there was not one woman that competed in the ALGS championships last year. I'm excited to see hopefully that change this season as more and more opportunities arise for people of all backgrounds.
It's beautiful as we can see Heroes, our Frenchman squad, in a lot of trouble. This is what happens when you go in for some of these early rotates as the circle is going to be pulling away from this bridge. Heroes going to be able to fully send it in now underneath the bridge themselves, even playing as a two-man at the moment. Ruben now looking to claim heads. Vex Gaming was the squad that was meeting them on the other side of this bridge here as they're the first squad to get taken out of this lobby.
The French duo in ASCII and Robin, longtime teammates with Wrath now on this team, take out Vexed. What a elimination against a powerhouse team in Vex that looks so good in game number 1. The French are here to play. Nice job from ASCII and Robin. Now they're gonna have a tough rotate. They have a couple teams trying to gatekeep them nearby. On screen and on board now with the 3 Muppets. BSE, Strongest, Plome, and Kumbra. We followed their journey and trajectory last game. The rising stars of Apex Legends, all 3 of them coming from Norway and looking so strong. I've only seen Kumbra play in a few majors. We saw him play in the PGL Showdown last year and a couple last chance qualifiers, but in terms of pro level play, we haven't seen a whole lot of the 3 Muppets. So a brand new team here to the ALGS Pro League, and I'm excited to see if they can continue their success from last game.
See, with 3 Muppets having this high ground, though, they're in a really good position. Alliance rotating from the outskirts of the circle, though. Remember, we talked about them taking their time to get into these next circles, but this is what kind of spelled their doom in game number 1. They do find some real estate with this open building, surprisingly, but there's so many teams wrapped around the Barometer Sniper Tower, like 3 Muppets, kind of overlooking where they're situated in, that I'm worried for their funneled out rotation once this next circle closes.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one. So they have Valkyrie to their name, so they can do that kind of YOLO, high risk, high reward Valkyrie ult. We'll see how they decide to rotate here. Plum almost is gonna have their beacon or pylon back ultimate. And nice shots, good damage from Plum on the team right below them. They're not gonna give up this high spot. They're not gonna give us this. They give up this positioning though. They will not drop on this team just yet. I think that's gonna be Alliance. We see a Gibraltar bubble. Not many teams running Gibby anymore, so most likely Alliance, who we knew was playing Edge.
Yeah, we talked about them taking up that real estate underneath that building, but they did manage to rotate away from the line of sight of 3 Muppets. They are seeing that there are other squads right below them too now, actually fighting Alliance, but the question is 3 Muppets, do they want to give up this high ground here? They should want to stay up here instead, because if they give up this high ground, they're giving up that real estate to the other squads that have the Seer all out, that have the information necessary to know where all these other teams are. But with the Seer all out, they're overlapping each other, Fallout, so everybody knows where these squads are sitting in inside Barometer.
Yeah, that's right. It was Alliance right below them. They're going to be sitting directly below the 3 Muppets. Again, the difficult rotation comes through, but Hockey's on Seer. I love the decision to put Hockey's on Seer because great comms, great leadership from him, and he's going to get all the intel from the Seer passive. Nice job and use of the Q right there. Is going to find 2 right behind them. They know there's a team above them as well, so they have to play this really smart because they can't ape this team nearby. They're going to get beamed from above from the 3 Muppets. It's going to be a really tough rotate for Alliance. Excited to see how they play it as Horizon gets taken out at the top right of your screen from Corpa, the Dark Horse team I said we got to look out for here.
Yeah, Corpa coming out on top here, having those 2 purple, so 1 blue Evo shield, as they are going to be able to take out that squad, but fighting another squad over on the other side. Zerfer in a lot of trouble now, managing to get away from the line of sight, but unfortunately the Seer isn't going to be as lucky. Now they're going to be able to fully send it, but the shield back comes off. It's KCP, Sir down, getting 2 knocks. Nasky gets knocked himself, but the Pioneers come out on top, and they take care of Corpa as they fall 18th in this lobby.
Yeah, this is Almost deja vu, Vicky. Exact same thing we saw from game one. Kansas City Pioneers have proven that they are so good at playing together, taking those 3v3 pound-for-pound fights with success. They are arguably one of the best 3v3 pound-for-pound fighting teams in Emea. Good luck beating this trio in a 3v3, almost like an arenas game. Good job from KCP, but again, their biggest challenge is going to be ahead of them. They still have to rotate. Looks like the three Muppets gave up their positioning in tower and actually went for center barometer instead, so they're going to get some good positioning here. They do have Watson fences to their name as well. The Watson fences will go up, but they will be focused by pretty much every angle of the lobby here. Not a whole lot of cover to work with this spinning, rotating center barometer.
Yeah, it's three Muppets who have always been on top, by the way, of getting this positioning that they need to be able to sit in a outskirts of the circle where they could rack up some extra KP. So another really good spot for the three Muppets as E6 are winners of game number one, finding themselves in some trouble. Remember, they do land in North Pad, so they did have access to that choke point that leads into Barometer over by the west side. You can see Case Winnie taking a lot of damage. He's got the gold Evo shield, though, so he can get back to health real quick.
Yeah, that's right. But look at this. Two of them with red Evo shields. That means they've been fighting. They've done damage. E6, well, they have probably their hardest fight in front of them right now. Is it's going to be Max Strafey who's going to get a knock with the charge rifle long range. Here comes the push from Kansas City Pioneers. They don't want to slow down, but nice shot by Case Winnie. It's going to put someone at bay. Sears down to no HP. Case Winnie needs to go back. He's going to get knocked. The revive came through. Leifin and Slayers is a team of two. A big 2v2 fight against the Kansas City Pioneers. And it's going to be Leifin that gets knocked as well. KCP in a 1v1 gets eliminated. E6 is not losing right now.
Leifin, although the rest of E6 are down minus Slayers, it was Leifin that had the gold knockdown shield, so that res on Slayers was huge because you were able to see that Slayers was able to come back up with some extra health before the third party came in. It's gonna be HP that's over on the other side right here that wanted to actually contest him. High Peak just a little late for this fight, but they're gonna be able to back away with some extra loot, stealing that loot away from the squad.
High Peak gets all of the spoils of war here. Let's put them in a good spot. Slayers goes down to Horizon. So E6, despite quite a few kills and a lot of aggression early and a great game number one, they get taken out. So KCP out, Vexed out, E6 out. Those are your three of your top five teams from the leaderboard after game one. This is going to be shaken up quite a bit. High Peak, we mentioned, Young Hong Kong and Fricks from Denmark. Bavis, the only Latvian player playing in this lobby. Excited to see what this brand new roster and lineup can do. And they are going to have to make themselves pretty slim here and small on this rotation. They don't want to make a lot of noise because they will get focused, but looks like one team's gatekeeping them already.
You see High Peak now going right back to the real estate that they found themselves comfy in, bunkering down with the trident to their backs, the Watson all out and about to negate any sort of grenades hurtled towards them. Look at this loot too, like we talked about from High Peak. The Volt with the gold extended mag that they were able to snatch away from those death boxes from E6, and some extra cover tier 2, but they're not in this next circle. They still have to inch their way into this next circle that's going to be closing in their backs in 30 seconds. As you can see, a Skyward Dive hurtling in right above their heads too.
Alliance gonna get taken out here. It's gonna be actually the bow check bow of, I think it was Kashera of Ascend that got the initial knock, and then Alliance got taken out right after. So here comes the rotate from Valk. Ascend is alive. We've talked a lot about Leifin on E6. Well, Ascend picked up Lufko. No longer playing with VJ. Controller player from Poland. I'm excited to see what Ascend can do. Meanwhile, IG find themselves burrowed up, but not in Storm yet. They have to rotate here in a moment. Shield Bat's going to be popped for JMW, but he doesn't have the HP to deal with. He's barely going to survive on a sliver of health. Uses the Valkyrie to get away and survive for now, but it's all going to be up to Graceful, the last alive. The three Muppets are eliminated as well.
Graceful! He's literally on the sliver of the corner on the high ground. You saw the rest of IG jump down immediately because they were already low on health. A bit of a panic here for IG as Graceful is just going to stay stationed up there. No reason to give up the high ground right now with the circle closing in a minute as EKO Esports are going to actually find themselves the free real estate behind that rock.
And I'm wondering, Vicky, why they felt the need to drop off high ground. Maybe they didn't realize that high ground was in zone. Graceful's just sitting up there.
Yeah.
They must have been panic. Must have been. Because Graceful's sitting up there like, what are you guys doing? I'm safe. We're chilling. We can all be alive with the Watson pylon to give us shield and surviving and thriving. But instead, it's going to be all up to Graceful last alive here. But you called it Eco Esports HTP Herald. We've seen quite a bit of him in the Pro League in the past. I believe formerly on Phoenix Legacy, if I remember correctly. Navi. The team from CIS, also alive. Sanya, Rugby, Kron, former CHMK that dominated the early days of the ALGS online tournaments, have been pretty quiet ever since.
They do call out Graceful, who's on the high ground right now, though. and they're not going to have him in their line of sight, so Na'Vi are just going to have to focus their attention at the squad who's running that taser comp with the Newcastle and Watson on the other side of the field, kind of bunkering down on an island. Looks like a lonely island here, but that's okay with them, but it won't be great if they are sandwiched in between Na'Vi and the squad that's right behind them here. So Na'Vi are trying to capitalize right now. They do find some broken shields off of a huge missile swarm from Rugby.
Whoop. The Gaiman Gladiators
it's
will take
Gaiman.
it out. That is huge. They got focused, and Na'Vi, their peers in the CIS, are absolutely frying right now to the right. But they're going to have to try and take this positioning here. I don't know if they want to, because it's an absolute bloodbath in those rocks, but that is going to be in zone. That's going to be the rotate they'll have to play. Look at the zone, though, Vicky. So much no man's land. Not a lot of cover to work with, as Lufko of Ascend is going to get taken out. Kashera with 5 HP, going to Newcastle ultimate his way to death as well, as Eco takes him out. That was great.
He delivered himself as a box for an early Christmas gift here for EKO. Thank you, Ascend as EKO now. I mean, when you pay for express shipping, this is the best way for EKO to now get this free real estate too. They got the loot right behind them. They get the knock at the same time. You can see IG International, the squad that does get eliminated. Turkish Stars that wanted this lonely island, they get taken out here too. Remember, Navi's on the other side as they're looking to engage onto EKO, but they're engaging on open ground.
Oh my goodness, EKO and a 2v, they're gonna do it! Echo Esports, one of the last invited teams, are gonna end up on top. The all-British team of Zuni, Bardo, and Harold. They win game number 2 with quite a few kill points as well. A solid game 2 for them as they will leap up in the standings. We're, of course, gonna throw it back to Rain Day here to help us break down the action.